Wales over Scotland, 25 points to 24. It's another game where Wales end up finishing up against 14 men. It'll be the talking point of this game for sure, as many red cards are. If you're a Scotland fan, you will be cursing the ref, no doubt. If you're a Wales fan, you'll be asking, why do these guys keep taking our props in the head? At the breakdown, it's 2 weeks in a row now, but it was to win Jones's head this time instead of Thomas Francis. But anyway, I'll go over the key points of the game, some stats and whatnot, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on how the game went prior to the red card, as I said, which will be the main talking point. First scrum penalty went to Wales, although I thought maybe over the course of this game, Scotland's scrum seemed to kind of edge it. Wales went through a bunch of phases and kicked the first penalty of the game to make it 3-0. The lead did change like 4 times in this game, so in terms of a neutral point of view, this game was a very good watch. Loads of tries, few penalties. Red card obviously makes things a bit worse, but that just is what it is. Scotland, a few minutes later, kind of did the reverse. They went through a few phases of their own, won a penalty and kicked that one to make it 3 points apiece. But those were the only penalties of the game. The rest of the scoring was tries and conversions. 12 minutes, Nick Tompkins. He runs the ball. He's a wee bit high. Scotland are able to kind of hold him up and get a nice little turnover. So they're looking, I thought initially anyway, Scotland were looking the more fired up of the two teams. They were looking sharper, first half especially. Scotland kick a penalty to get an attacking line out in Wales' half, and it looks like, right, they're going to turn the screws on Wales, but Wales win the line out, so it's a line out steal for Wales. They get themselves out of jail. Scotland, though, they put the pressure right back on. Johnny Gray gets a wee line break. He doesn't quite know what to do with himself when he's in that much space, the big man. He's more used to making tackles, to be fair. But they recycled the ball well. Price put a little dink over for Darcy Graham, who is able to regather, beat his man. I think it was Halfpenny. And they kicked the conversion for that try to make it 10 points to 3. That try, proper thing of beauty stuff. Blade Thompson had gone off slightly earlier to that. It looked like a head knock, and he didn't come back on. So it was unfortunate for Scotland. But I guess the injury count in this game, at least at face value, seems lower than some of the games last week, which is pleasing. 24 minutes, another try for Scotland. It's Hogg, who doesn't get man of the match. I think if Scotland wins, he probably does get man of the match. Chip and chase, Halfpenny can't regather it. And Halfpenny, especially in that first half, I thought was struggling with the Scottish kicks finding a bit too much space. He knocks it backwards, does Halfpenny, so Hogg's able to regather it. And it's 17-3. And the first half has mostly been all Scotland. At 17-3, Wales are not quite looking dead and buried. Obviously, next score is going to be crucial. But if the pressure continues and Scotland are able to get another try, then it looks like it's going to be too much for Wales to come back from. 26 minutes, Wales get an attacking scrum in the Scottish 22, but Scotland are able to win a penalty, so a great exit for them. 32 minutes, Graham and Halfpenny have a bit of a clash. Maybe it's fortunate for Wales that they were able to kind of get a shift at the back, which meant a momentum change, because you never like to see anybody get injured, but Halfpenny goes off after the clash with Graham, and they kind of look a bit more secure at the back after that. But anyway, Halaholo comes on, so good to see him finally get his debut for Wales. And they're better yet for Wales. It's right before half-time, 37 minutes, Lewis Rees-Zammit, on the back of several Welsh penalties, is able to get a try. Nick Tompkins with a one-handed pass. He puts the hammer down, and they missed the conversion, but it's 17 points to 8. 17 points to 8 is at least game-on territory for Wales. Like I said, if it had been the other way and Scotland had scored again, as they might well have done given how the first half kind of played out, then I think Scotland would have maybe had an unassailable lead. But anyway, halftime stats are 51-49 for the possession in favour of Scotland, but territory is 71-29, also in Scotland's favour. It's 352 run metres to 200. It's 5 line breaks to 1. So yeah, it's Scotland in that first half with a reasonably comfortable lead. Wales start the second half. They win a penalty. And Dan Biggar somehow kicks it he tries to banana kick it out to make it like a 5 metre line out for Wales, but he doesn't kick it out. It goes straight to the Scottish winger. They hoof it back upfield. It's another one of those ones where if you do that as the last play of the game, a la Billy Burns last week, it's a massive talking point, but because it's in like the 41st minute, no one's really going to remember that one. But Bigger does get substituted before the 50-minute mark. Him and Gareth Davis both get subbed. And it's hard to know because Wales do come sharper with Sheedy on, but also not long after Scotland go down to 14 men, so it's kind of hard to know if it was Sheedy's influence, if it was the red card, or if it was a bit of both. Liam Williams gets the try, though, before the red card. It's on 50 minutes. It's a good try, a big Wales maul, good hands from Wales. Lewis Rees-Zammit with the pass. Remember, he gets man of the match because he gets a try or two and a try assist, so he's involved in a bit of everything. Big play for Wales. They needed that one. And then to make matters worse for Scotland, right as it's gotten tight, Xander Fagerson gets red carded for taking out Wyn Jones's head in a maul. Now it's an interesting one because you see it happen. He flies into the maul, into the ruck. Xander Fagerson flies into it. And yeah, it's always risky when you do that because you can hit any part of a body when you're flying in like that. There's no way to stop yourself. But Wyn Jones is being cleaned out. So the TMO calls it up and says to the ref, you need to have a look at this. And the TMO is indicating like, well, maybe Wyn Jones's position of his head is changing because he's being cleaned out by another player. But the ref's like, nah, it's not enough for me, so I'm giving him a red. I was doing a live stream at the time, and the feedback was both that is stupidly harsh and that's fair. So people are going to see that different ways. Honestly, man, if you hit somebody in the head with any kind of force, you're putting yourself into a world of trouble. That's just the way the game is reffed, and he flew into that ruck. You put yourself into that position. I mean, I got sympathy for him, but not that much because he flew into it. I don't know that it was necessary given that he was already being removed from the play. So it's a red card. It's a huge momentum shift. And not long later, Wyn Jones, the man who's just been hit in the head, he gets a try. He gets a try on 55 minutes. The Wales maul goes close. They go through some phases, and the TMO checks it to make sure the grounding is good, and it is good. They missed the conversion, though, so it's 20 points to 17, so it's still doable for Scotland. And Scotland do kind of react to the red card, I guess, and react to the try. They react to going behind. They know they need to score. They go down the other end. They get advantages. They call a scrum. The scrum wins a penalty. They call another scrum. Like Scotland are not taking this lightly. Wales concede a bunch of penalties. Eventually, they have a scrum which is steady, so the ref tells them to use it. They get it to Hogg. And like I mentioned, he may have been man of the match, but he's in a losing effort, so he's not. He just runs a line, and Watkin can't quite keep up with him. Watkin misses the tackle. Tompkins can't stop him, and it's a hell of a try for Scotland, and it's a hell of a conversion from Finn Russell. I know he doesn't always do the goal kicking, but sideline conversion makes it 24-20, so you can't win it with a penalty if you're Wales, unless you get two of them. So 24-20. And then a few minutes later, Hogg is the man at the back who stops Lewis Rees-Zammit from potentially grounding a kick chase through. So he's a bit of everywhere. It was Sheedy that put the kick through, but it's gonna start to take its toll. And it's only a minute later, Lewis Rees-Zammit, not to be denied this time, he gets the ball out on the wing. He's got some serious wheels. He chips it over the top, and without slowing down, changes direction to chase the ball. He's the first man to it, and he scores a hell of a try. We've seen him do it for Gloucester, but to do it at international level was something else. They missed the conversion again, and neither of those conversions was that hard. So it's 25-24. That is how the game is going to finish. Scotland start to look tired in those final 10, you got to admit. At one point, Scotland go like 12 phases, but then they kick it through. It's just madness. It's another one. I guess they were tired. Maybe they didn't have any runners. But then Lewis Rees-Zammit is there again. He gets the ball at the back and just hoofs it back down the other end. If you're a Scottish forward, your head would just be in your hands at the thought of having to go back another 80 metres. Tompkins gets an intercept as Finn Russell tries to run it out of his 22, but he gets stopped by Duhan, who grabs around the ankles. Finn Russell gets back up and turns the ball over, so they win a penalty. Scotland get a chance to go down the other end. Duhan is running it down the right wing, right as like we're past the 80-minute mark. But Liam Williams ankle taps him. He throws the offload from the deck, but it's loose. And I think it's Reece Zammit, they said, who gathered the loose ball. One of the live streamers with me commentating in the chat mentioned that it was Reece Zammit who gathered the loose ball, so Wales are able to kick it out and earn themselves a pretty big victory, man. Bonus point victory. You'd be absolutely distraught if you're Scottish. But Wales have got it done, man. Who would have picked a bonus point win away from home? 61-39 is the possession to Scotland. 72-28 is the territory to Scotland. 680 to 454 is the run meters to Scotland. Tackles is actually 103 to Scotland and 186 to Wales. So Wales' defence had to do some serious work. Wales win 4 turnovers to 2. They win 2 line-out steals to none. So they did have some proper good defensive stats to Wales. It's really pleasing. It's like the Wales of old. Line breaks is 8 to 5 though, so it wasn't all clean sailing for the Welsh defence. Like Hogg was bloody everywhere. Graham was looking dangerous before he got substituted. Hogg finishes with 152 run meters, 7 broken tackles. Graham gets 61 run meters and 4 broken tackles. Remember, he went off before the hour mark because they had the red card. Tipperick had 16 from 16 tackles and a turnover. Alan Wynne-Jones had 14 from 14 and a turnover. Reece Zammit, man of the match, 89 run meters, beats 2 tackles, gets a couple of tries and a try assist. Hell of a game for a neutral, man. How do you feel about this if you're Welsh? Are you thinking we got through it by the skin of our teeth? Are you worried that you can't beat teams 15 on 15? Probably not, because you don't control how many guys you play against, right? You'd have to be pretty pleased with your defensive effort. Like I mentioned, Tipperick and Alan Wynne-Jones. Last week it was Navidi as well. All these guys making all these tackles. You'd have to be pretty pleased, I think. Bonus point win. Don't know. Some people still aren't sold on Pivac as coach, but we'll see. As I mentioned, if you're a Scottish fan, you'd have to be pretty distraught. But losing bonus point means you're still in the hunt. There was certainly a bit of pleasing stuff to see. Anyway, it's never great when you see a red card in a match. It's always the talking point. But anyway, people will see it differently. Some people will say it's deserved if you hit a guy in the head, and some people will say it's harsh. Should have been a yellow. Should have been a penalty. Anyway, I'm about to go watch England and Italy. I haven't seen that game, and I do not know the result, quite pleasingly. But we'll see how that one goes. You guys let me know your thoughts on this one. How'd you think it went? And I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.